Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cardinal Coaching Solutions Podcast. Wes Gal here, coming to you here in January in 2020. And it's going to be a beautiful day here in Virginia Beach in the Mid-Atlantic. It's been kind of a balmy, a balmy January, which I'm certainly not complaining about. But every year around this time, there at some point in January, it's like the world, or North America, I guess, remembers, oh, it's wintertime here in the Mid-Atlantic. And a switch just goes off, and that's it. And so we've enjoyed some 50s and some 60s, but I'm looking ahead to next week, and we're getting, for us anyway, it's pretty cold. Highs, in the 40s, and lows at night below freezing. So anyway, I'm happy to be back here with you on the podcast. I want to share some thoughts around this idea of fire and smoke and human development. I've been getting a lot of mileage around this. I wrote a blog about it from a different perspective, and I'll put a link to that here in the show notes. And been engaging with some folks in conversation on LinkedIn around this topic. But I'll go back to, actually, let me set the scene here. I'm looking out our window, one of my house, and I see a half a cord of wood left. Every year I burn about a cord of wood in our family room fireplace. And I've gotten pretty good at it, actually. I know what works in terms of how to stack it. When I pick up a piece of wood, I can tell whether or not, roughly speaking, like this is a little green, or it's still got some water in it. It's going to burn a little longer, or take a longer time to get going. Anyway, I really enjoy it. Love the crackling, and it's just good for the soul, good for the heart. So one thing that I learned early on about a fireplace is that there's this really fine line of space. There's this really delicate balance between the space between the logs on your fireplace. If they're too far apart, if there's too much space between the logs, then the energy is just going to burn out. They're not going to feed off of each other. It's not going to be any synergy, if you will. They're just going to burn out. You're not going to get near as much energy. However, conversely, if they're too close together, then the flame is just going to be snuffed out. So really, management of a fireplace, and that really what is what it is. It requires quite a bit of oversight and management. At least for me anyway, is maintaining that delicate balance between the logs. That's really what it is. Maintaining that delicate balance between the logs. Not too far apart, or there's not going to be enough energy. Not too close together, or it's going to burn out. It's going to be snuffed out. So here's how this connects to my perspective on human development. I landed the plane, so to speak, of 2019, almost as though if you imagine this plane or this jet coming to the runway, and they just touch the wheels and gas it, and they're right back off the runway. That's kind of what it felt like going into 2020. I barely landed, the wheels touched, and I was right back up. I had a lot of energy around new initiatives, new endeavors going into 2020. Really, really excited about it. In fact, one of them took off. Didn't mean to play with that metaphor, but there we go. Took off right out of the gates on January 1st. I spent an hour on the phone with a coaching opportunity, coaching connection really. And wow. And then the very next day, January 2nd, implemented one of my other goals, starting a mastermind group. And man, I came out of the gates hot. Let's go back to the fireplace metaphor. A lot of energy, a lot of logs. And then I started to notice something. And actually, let me connect it to development. When I think of human development, I always think of it in the context of adding to, of adding on to, of expanding, of increase. If it's corporate HR training, then there's some new skill that's being added to your toolbox. And then this thought hit me, and it hit me really hard. I was driving in my truck just around town, maybe running some errands or something, and man, it hit. You see, the word development, the word itself gives us a clue of its greater meaning. Think of words like deconstruct and devolve. And so in reality, development is just as much about subtraction as it is addition. It's just as much about shedding and letting go as it is about expanding, increasing, adding on to. In fact, I've come to this belief: the adding to can't happen until there's a letting go. Yeah, let that sit for a minute. Adding on to, the expanding, the increasing, there's no room for that without the letting go, without the subtracting, without the making room for. We see this in nature. The flower doesn't bloom, the plant doesn't grow until it sheds its seed coat. Many organisms across, the kingdom and phyla don't grow without shedding. As my kids grow, they grow out of their clothes and especially shoe sizes, my goodness. Yeah. So back to 2020, fireplace and development. I came out of the gates real hot. And then I pretty quickly realized within about the first 10 days, I'm starting to just see smoke. Yeah, I'm starting to feel my energy disapparating. This isn't sustainable. These logs are too close together. If I looked at my calendar and my list of to-dos and new initiatives in 2020, there were too many logs on the fire. Yeah. And connecting that back to human development, I had to make another list. I had to make a second list. I had to make a list of to-don'ts. Yeah. I had to make space. I mean, practically that looked like a couple things. I had to remove some availabilities from my calendar. That was pretty counterintuitive. In terms of coaching sessions, yeah, I had to remove some availability, some hours in the day that I'm not available. I had to say no to an opportunity that for the last year I'd been saying yes to. Yeah. I had to say no to that right now. And there's a list of others that I'm just not able to recall at the moment. But yeah, I had to have a list of to-don'ts. I had to make space. I had to separate the logs, or else all of my ambition, all of my energy going into 2020 was just going to go up in smoke. It wasn't sustainable. The logs were too close together. So that was a really, really good bit of learning for me. And now that having done that, I can feel the energy returning. I really do. I'm sleeping better at night. I wake up with more energy to start the day. And that helps me in many other ways beyond presence in a coaching session. I have more energy to be the husband and father that I want to be, the friend that I want to be. Yeah, I had to put a little distance between the logs. And now the flame's a lot stronger. This is going to be a longer burn. It's going to be more sustainable. And I'm really glad of that. But so what about you? What's going on in your schedule so far in 2020? Are the logs too close together? Like me. Too many initiatives. Schedule's too full. Not sustainable. You're feeling the energy go up in smoke. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you're actually not feeling energy because you don't have enough logs on the fire. That's a whole other can of questions. What's keeping you from that? What would need to shift for you to toss another log on there? What part of you needs to get out of the way so that you can put another log on that fire and see what happens? Hey, if any of that or any of this is helpful for you, interesting to you, it captures your attention, you like to talk about it, I'd love to connect with you on this. Shoot me an email, wes@cardinalcoachingsolutions.com, wes@cardinalcoachingsolutions.com. Have an awesome day, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will do this again soon.